And in a bit of sports media news, man, Skip Bayless, it was announced for all of the sports media junkies out there who follow this kind of stuff and watch a lot of the sports media shows, which we do. Skip Bayless, it was announced, was is not returning to FS1. The Undisputed show, I think the plan is for Undisputed to continue, but Skip Bayless is out. Skip Bayless is out, which it came out of nowhere, man. It came out of nowhere. It surprised a lot of people. So a lot of people are reacting to this in real time because there's questions about the fate of Undisputed into the future. Excuse me, what's going to happen with Skip and all of that good stuff. So, from this point, it does seem like a bit of a fall from grace when you juxtapose what he has going on now to his glory days when he was a part of the emergence of First Take. But to provide a little bit of context, this says Skip Bayless is out at FS1. Skip Bayless is no longer part of FS1. The co-host of the Undisputed has severed ties with the network after 8 years, according to the New York Post. Bayless's final episode will air sometime during the fall. His departure marks the end of an era, but it is not an altogether surprising announcement. Skip Bayless has made his discontent with FS1 clear over the years, to such an extent, in fact, that he complained about his co-host on the air. During a 2023 episode of Undisputed, Bayless grew frustrated by the chatter of his three co-hosts, Richard Sherman, Keyshawn Johnson, and Michael Irvin. The veteran sports analyst took a backseat for most of the conversation. That being said, he made his frustration clear toward the end of the segment. I don't know how closely you watch their games, but I can, he told his peers. We don't have time because you guys talk too much. He then told Johnson point blank that he talked too much. The writing was on the wall for Skip Bayless when his original co-host left the show in 2023. Shannon Sharp walked away from Undisputed and FS1 due to tension with Bayless. Tellingly, part of the draw of the show was seeing Bayless and Sharp clash with one another. The absence of the latter was a blow that the shows never fully recovered from. Ratings declined and Skip Bayless struggled to find a groove in the revolving roster of guest hosts. Of course, the alternative was worse. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp were frequently at each other's throats during the show's peak. The latter admitted on the Stephen A. Smith show that he got so mad during one segment that he considered attacking Bayless. I remember going home, calling my sister, Sharp stated. I called my brother. It took a lot. It took a lot for me to not put my hands on him. It actually did. Skip Bayless has not yet commented on his exit from FS1. New York Post claimed that the analyst referred them to Fox Sports, who declined to make a statement. So this doesn't say when he's gone, but I read another article that said that I believe I read the article that said he's leaving like at the end of August, I think. Something like that. But he'll be gone before the start of Labor Day. I do believe that is the case. So, like before college football and NFL kicks off, he's going to be gone. And it also doesn't say on this particular article, but I did read in a separate article that the current plan is for Undisputed to continue, albeit in some other form, and that the other shows are going to be extended by a half hour. Speak and First Things First are going to go from hour and a half shows to 2 hour shows. So, that for anybody who likes to talk about this kind of stuff. But what do you make of Skip Bayless leaving FS1, Undisputed, no more, all of this good stuff? What do you make of that?
Well, it's been a long time coming, boy. So I done waited for this for about 10 years. Well, not FS1, just him done with TV. But, he probably still going to pop up somewhere lurking. But I'm glad that he doesn't have a platform that spew toxicity anymore. I think this guy, one of the single-handedly, one of the guys who single-handedly ruined modern sports media is Skip Bayless. Stephen A. Smith is on that Mount Rushmore as well.
I think that they're both 1A and 1B. Yeah. I think what we see with the hot take aspect of sports media, I think those two are the godfathers.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And when it first started, I was cool with it. I was cool with it because, Who don't like a little banter, you know? So hell, at the basketball court, at the time, the student union or whatever, like wherever you can, hang out with your people and y'all talking about sports, who don't like a little banter? But one thing I started to notice was people started bringing talking points from these debate shows into the
Yeah.
banter.
Yes.
And I said, hey, where's your opinion at? And it was giving me media talking points. And I was like, hey, man, what are you talking about? Are you kidding me? He's 6'8", 265 pounds. You don't like a freak trick. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yo, bro, you good, man? And they literally talking like Stephen A. Smith and Skip. So I was like, hey, this stuff isn't, I thought this stuff was like whatever, but this stuff really messing with these people's head. And then they started talking about the same stuff. Y'all talking about the Cowboys again? Y'all talking about the Cavaliers again? Y'all talking about the Cowboys again? Jerry Jones? It didn't stop. It was every day. That wasn't always a thing. So when it first started happening, I'm like, I'm having cognitive dissonance. I'm like, what are y'all doing? So then I naturally got turned off by start watching, because I used to like cold pizza and all that. But then I started watching it when it started getting too narrative. Then I come back later and they're doing it again, the same topics. These guys have been talking about the same stuff for 15, 20 years. So their little formula, I believe, has been run its course. At this point, it's very obvious that these are fake debates with fake talking points. It's very obvious that some of these guys are bought and paid for, and they're talking on certain levels, on certain agendas for certain things. So there's not any really objective, honest types of commentary anymore. Back in the day when we was getting Stuart Scott calling the game and, after the game, just telling you what happened in the game and then interviewing people from the game, kind of like what, Kenny and them doing, or what the guys in football do. They just talk about the game they just watched. But then ESPN somehow, some way turned into this drama center where there was constantly reporting on sports gossip. And then on top of that, pushing things like who's the top this, who's the number one that, this guy versus that guy. Then they started getting rid of the intangibles that made the great players great weren't valued anymore, and it all moved to stats. All of this stuff is under the watchful eye of Stephen A. Smith and this clown, Skip Bayless. So from me hearing that this guy was stepping down, I couldn't be more happy, more ecstatic. They got out there, Lil Wayne out there getting humiliated, man. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what's going on with Wayne? How long? Who knows how long we got, to have Wayne while he around? And he out here, he around here doing stuff with Skip Bayless. You know what I'm saying? And and tainting his name. So I can't get with any of this. This it was a crap show. What that coach from Toronto say? It's a complete crap, and it's not. And it's not good. So his ratings was in the crapper. I heard they were struggling to get like 50K views. 50K viewers. This was on national television, and they couldn't get 50K. Bro, I done seen live streams that do more than that.
Yep.
So Skip Bayless, he's washed up. Shannon Sharp was his real talent. Stephen A was his real talent. He needs the talent in order to jigaboo off of it. And he needed four black people dancing on stage to make up for one person he lost. And even then, he still couldn't figure it out. So Skip Bayless, you can kick rocks, sir. I'm glad you're getting out of the major network game. But, the major corporations, they find these guys under rocks. And, they're working real hard to make Nick Wright the next Skip Bayless any damn way. So, you get rid of one, two more pop up. But I'm glad this guy's gone. But what are your thoughts, man, on not Stephen A, Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless calling the quits, man, allegedly, and leaving not too far from now. What are your thoughts?
I think Nick Wright is Nick Wright is just annoying and obnoxious when it comes to LeBron, but I don't look at Nick Wright the same as Skip. I think Nick is nuanced with his sports opinions, way more so than Skip. I just think that when it comes to LeBron, Nick Wright for me, like he takes 10 steps forward and only 3 steps. He takes like 10 steps backwards and then 3 steps forward because of
Or
how he does.
Mahomes.
Yeah, because of how he does the LeBron stuff. Yeah, I don't really have much to add to what you have to say there. The point that you brought up about Skip Bayless's legacy, I do think is very. I think it's the point of all of this is how will he be remembered when it comes to the consumption of sports today? Because like back in the day, so way back in 2004, this is how old I am. I remember this. Back in 2004, First Take used to be a segment on a variety sports show called Cold Pizza. You brought up
Mhm.
Cold Pizza. And it wasn't even called First Take. The segment was called First and 10.
Mhm.
Basically, it was 10 different segments because the variety show was 2 hours long. And then there were 10 debate segments. And it was Woody Page and Skip Bayless. And they would debate sports topics back and forth during those 10 segments, and it was called First and 10. But eventually, ESPN realized that the ratings for the show are highest during those segments. So over time, they got rid of the whole variety show and just made the show a debate show. And it was back and forth, Skip Bayless and a bunch of other people. People don't even realize before Shannon Sharp was on FS1, Shannon Sharp was on ESPN first. He just left and then went back because he was on ESPN and he was one of the people who would debate with Skip Bayless, Marcellus Wiley, Jalen Rose, all of these people before realizing that when it was Stephen A. Smith who was there, it really would get the ratings going up because of the dynamic between the two of them. And I guess to Skip Bayless's credit, he realized that and said, let's make Stephen A. Smith the permanent co-debater because the chemistry is what causes the show to really, operate beyond its britches. But prior to First Take, there were shows like PTI who did the debate thing, but it was done by two people who, number one, to your point, didn't talk the same people and the same teams and the same topics every day. And it was, two newspaper columnists who just gave nuanced opinions and they brought in the things like the intangibles and they talked beyond the stats to make it feel as though what they were talking about were things that weren't just low-hanging fruit.
Mhm.
But then, First Take comes along and it just becomes, oh, this person averages 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. They're an MVP candidate. Or this person does this or that with their numbers and they're a top 5 player in the league.
Right.
And now that's pretty much what sports media has devolved into.
Right.
And I do place the blame for that at the feet of Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith collectively, both
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
So that is Skip Bayless's legacy, in my opinion, is removing nuance from sports debate.
Yeah.
That is Skip Bayless's legacy, and to a lesser, but pretty much in the same ballpark extent, that is also Stephen A. Smith's legacy, in my opinion, as well. To speak on Undisputed, this to me is no shock. That show was a shell of itself after Shannon Sharp left. First of all, the more people strategy, I don't get that. Who 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 is the producer on these shows who thinks that bringing on 4 people to talk sports at the same time is a good idea? Get rid of all of those people. It's too many people. 2 people is all you need. That's it. You don't need 4 people. It's ridiculous. But that's what happens when you lose somebody who actually has on-air talent in Shannon
Right.
Sharp,
Right.
and you try to find a way to replace him with people who aren't compelling and who don't have on-air talent, and people like Keyshawn Johnson first and foremost, but then also people like Michael Irvin and who's the DB? What's the DB's name? That
Oh, Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman, yeah. So like these people, whatever they have skin in the game and credibility because they were either journalists or former players. So that's fine. But it takes more than that to be someone who I actually want to watch on TV. And just because you have a background as a former player doesn't mean that you're compelling for television. It doesn't mean that you present your ideas in such a way that makes you interesting. None of those guys are interesting. So what you had was Skip Bayless and three people who weren't interesting. You get rid of the moderator and make Skip Bayless a moderator, which was a shitty idea. Who thought
Oh
of
my
that?
god.
That was a horrible idea. Keep the moderator. The moderator's like, look, you can say what you want about First Take. If you remove Molly, it's going to be a worse show. She doesn't give any opinions and she's merely the moderator, but the moderator is a significant aspect of the general ebb and flow of those shows. If you take the moderator away, it makes for a worse product. So you replace one person with three, which is a huge violation. You get rid of the moderator, which is another violation. And then you double down on getting rid of the moderator by making Skip the moderator, which was a third violation. So that show is a shell of itself. It was terrible. I'm not shocked that this is what happened. I'm not shocked that the ratings tanked. They probably need to just get rid of it and replace it with something more interesting altogether. But they'll probably try to milk the undisputed cow for everything they can. And as far as Skip is concerned, he'll probably end up trying to do the YouTube thing and host his own show, host his own podcast, or do something like that. He'll probably have a very small niche 60-plus-year-old audience who's going to follow him wherever he goes. So it is what it is with him. But I think Undisputed is a cautionary tale in not how to do debate shows. Less is more. Stop bringing on four people. That's ridiculous. Make sure that these people are compelling on television and don't just think that because they're former pros and they have a name attached to them that people are going to care about their opinion. And don't get rid of the moderator. And if you do get rid of the moderator, don't replace the moderator with someone whose skills lie in their sports opinions, for whatever that's worth when it comes to Skip. So dumpster fire is what I think about with that show, or the remnants of it. Didn't watch an ounce of it after Shannon left. They should probably get rid of it, but they won't. And as far as Skip is concerned, that's his legacy. Devolving sports media down to a dog and pony show about stat sheet regurgitation and stupid talking points like he doesn't make his teammates better.
Hey man, this guy's the gas bag of all gas bags. So he's not going to stop gas bagging it up. So he's going to be posting on his X platform, on his Instagram, as soon as something happens with Dak Prescott or Jerry Jones. And so he's not going to stop doing that type of stuff. But I'm glad that him and his energy is off air. He was doing shady stuff before he even got on ESPN, back in his air quote journalism days. So this guy's made a whole career out of being shisty and being underhanded. I heard that one of the reasons why they couldn't find a moderator was because ain't nobody want to work with him like that.
Right? Yeah.
And then they got all these people because yeah, you're right. Like those were big shoes to fill in Shannon. So to me, it kind of made sense if they played it right, but I don't want to hear Keyshawn Johnson talk about basketball. And
Bro, to be real with you, I don't really want to hear him talk about football either.
me either. But that's as much as I can at least respect where his opinion is, even if it's wrong.
Right.
Because 9 times out of 10, bro, it's wrong. But I can at least respect it because he's thrown me the damn ball, Keyshawn Johnson. But if you throw me the ball, Keyshawn Johnson, and you're talking about basketball, bro, and you're talking his basketball takes it's not even within the arena, bro. And it's just like, and y'all really parading this out here. I'm supposed to be watching this. I'm doing y'all a favor watching this. That's how I feel. Like I'm doing you a favor, Keyshawn. Like I'm part of your family. Just make sure you support, because every time he come out, I skip it. So yeah, man. And no shade, bro. Just talk sports. I mean, just talk football. So Keyshawn gonna find new work. All these guys gonna find new work. And like you said, they're not getting rid of the show overall. So those guys still might be lurking around anyway. But Skip himself, the gas bag of all gas bags, he's done. And So yeah, man, we'll get an NBA season without him, NFL season without him. Honestly, the last 4 or 5 seasons have been without him in my world. But still, he'll still find ways to go viral on something, I'm sure, and say something about somebody or after one of these weeks. So he'll still do his thing like that. But the day-to-day impact, it's over, and I'm happy about it, to be honest.
Yeah, we are clearly seeing who won out in that divorce between him and Shannon. And we are seeing who was the true person who carried that show. And it was unequivocally Shannon Sharp. I don't think there is any doubt about that. But even when they do the basketball stuff, because I haven't watched Skip Bayless since he left ESPN. I never really latched on to Undisputed like that. Pretty much ever since he left, I was out on him. Now the other shows on Fox are, in my opinion, they're great shows. Cowherd, First Things First, Speak. Those three are all, in my opinion, good sports shows for me. But the Undisputed show to me was always dog and pony, low production quality, low energy. And really, like, I couldn't even really watch the show if one of them was remote, mainly Shannon. So, like, if it was a situation where Skip was in studio but Shannon was remote, I would just turn it. I wouldn't even give it 5 minutes. The only way that I would actually give the show a chance is if both of them were in studio, and specifically Shannon was in studio with Skip, because Skip was usually in studio. Rarely was Skip not in studio. But outside of that, I just felt like the show just wasn't anything worth watching. It really wasn't. And Shannon is all the better for it. It was a shell of itself, for sure. And it is what it is. But I think in retrospect, we're going to evaluate what Skip meant when it comes to sports content. He made an impact, but it's debatable at best whether the impact was positive or negative. And if you're someone who fancies their sports commentary with some nuance, and you're just not talking about numbers and weirdo stuff, like, it was mainly the numbers thing and all of that kind of stuff, and bringing in analytics, people like JJ Redick, not to keep this going, but people like JJ Redick as a sports talking person, that is the brainchild of the dynamic that Skip Bayless was a part of instituting, where JJ Redick's whole shtick every time he was on First Take, he was arguing his points by using analytics, points per 100 possessions, and plus minus while on the floor for a certain amount of minutes. Like, look, bro, I don't want to hear all of that. I'm sorry, I get it.
With his damn QBR.
Yeah. yeah. Like, I don't want to hear that, bro. Like, Brock Purdy, does he have a higher QBR than Justin Herbert? Like, Brock Purdy's not better than Justin Herbert. Brock Purdy's not better than Justin Herbert. But that's what people like that'll do now, and it's just become annoying. So,
yeah, man,
that's his legacy and good riddance.
Kid Rock. Get out of here, man. And you got me fired up with that JJ Redick. So I just got to thinking about how he talked. I'm so glad he's coaching now. I don't have to hear him talk about game no more.
You don't want to hear him talking about points per 100 possessions.
No.
Points per 100 possessions and second spectrum. That was all I ever used to hear from JJ Redick every day. And it was just like vomit. I'm vomiting in my mouth right now.
Win shares. Oh, get out of here, man. Go mind the game somewhere else, man. I got time for that. Lord have mercy.